In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that irregardless to land, to language or label, creed, class or color, race, religion or ritual, that there is but one God. We thank that one God for blessing us with the messengers, the warners, and the prophets that he has bestowed on us. We as followers of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, not only do we thank Allah for Muhammad and the revelation of the Holy Quran, but as a Muslim, we believe in all of the messengers and all of the revealed word that came from each and every one of them. We see every messenger, warner, and prophet as being a different arrow shot from that one single bow, the Supreme Being. And because we see them like that, we make no distinctions among any of the messengers or the prophets. So we believe in Moses, the Torah, and the Ten Commandments. We believe in Jesus, the gospel, and the two commandments that he said hang all the laws and all the prophets, which is one, to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and two, to love your neighbor or your brother or sister as you love yourself. And we also believe in Muhammad and all of the Islamic laws that are described in the glorious book called Holy Quran. However, I come before you today as a student, servant, and soldier of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And as his student, I'm eternally grateful to Almighty God, Allah, for his merciful intervention in our affairs in the form of a well-made man named Master Fard Muhammad. We thank him for coming among us and raising up in our midst his messenger, Messiah, in my humble opinion, the greatest black man that ever walked the earth other than God himself. I'm talking about a Georgia-born black man by the name of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We thank Allah for this most beautiful servant that God has given you and me. And we know that we wouldn't know how to properly talk about the two I just mentioned or the first three that I said earlier if it weren't for this one man that's all five of them clothed in one flesh. That man that I'm talking about, that you can see some Moses, some Jesus, some Muhammad, some Master Fard Muhammad, and a whole lot of Elijah Muhammad in, is none other than the teacher of this time, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's in their holy and righteous names that I greet you, my sisters and brothers of Springfield, Ohio, in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. To my brother Robert, who is working on the battlefield here in the great city of Springfield, and his family and the hard-working believers here, we thank Allah for you, Brother Robert, and your family and your sacrifice that you've made. Let's give all of them a round of applause. The great believers of Muhammad and in Muhammad that are here in the Springfield, Ohio area. We are thankful to Almighty God, Allah, to come just a few days before Christmas. Can I move my stand up a little bit? Is that okay? Oh, it is a little heavy. I was going to slide it, but this is a real rostrum. I thought it was one of them ones. That's good. Just be a little bit closer to everybody. I don't feel like I want to be you. I say to you all. And there ain't a whole lot of all to say it to. So I wanted to thank Brother Robert and his staff for putting together a community empowerment meeting tonight here at the Marriott. Let's give them another round of applause. Our community needs empowerment. The word empower is a root, or comes from an etymological root word. The prefix in or im comes from a French prefix that means to be in or to be into. The word power comes from its Latin root, which is a word called posse. What? My posse's on Broadway. Y'all don't know nothing about that. But the word posse in Latin means ability, strength, might, or power. So when we say a community empowerment, the word empower means to be brought into power, ability, strength, or might. For what purpose? The building of a community. As it stands right now, if you notice, I don't care what city you go to in America, when they talk about the environment where black people live, we always say the hood. Have you noticed that? Why do we say the hood? Why not neighborhood? The reason we call it the hood and not the neighborhood is because the concept and function of neighbor is missing from the environment that we share with one another. If we were brothers and sisters of one another, then the concept of neighbor would be present, and we wouldn't call it the hood, we call it the neighborhood. Also, we call it the hood because the hood, or a hood, is a piece of fabric that's attached to the back of a shirt, jacket, or a coat. What's the function of a hood? The function of a hood is to cover the head. Well, when we see what we call our environment as the hood, what we're saying is that the environment that we share space and time with is nothing more than the product physically of our collective consciousness. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that if we didn't live in the slum in our mind, we wouldn't have a slum in the community. He said the only reason why we live in the slum is because we have slum thoughts inside of our head. If the environment that we call the hood is dirty and disorganized, and this environment is nothing more than the physical manifestation of the collective consciousness of people that share space and time, it's because those of us that live in that environment have dirty, disorganized thoughts. So the real solution to making our neighborhoods a clean, safe, and decent place to live is the people that share space and time have to have clean thinking, safe thoughts, and we have to have a decent mindset. And if we had clean, decent, and safe thoughts in our head, it's only a matter of time before our neighborhood will be a perfect reflection of it. Thank you for listening. I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. That's sufficient. There was a time period that we didn't have to have a meeting about empowering us as a people. Before we were kidnapped and westernized and Caucasianized, and unfortunately, even Christianized. We used to be a proud, powerful, and productive people. Did y'all hear me? Did you know that Imhotep, the multi-genius that invented the stethoscope, the multi-genius that was the father of philosophy? I got two people that said go. Plato and Aristotle didn't father philosophy. Aristotle is not the father of philosophy. Plato, Aristotle, all of them studied from Thales. And Thales studied from Hypothagorus. And Hypothagorus went into Egypt and learned from the writings of Imhotep. But Imhotep was a black man. Shaka Zulu, a black man. Queen Nzinga, a black woman. Nefertiti, a black woman. Mansa Musa, the richest man that ever lived on the earth, was not a white man that owned Amazon or Microsoft or Apple. The richest man that ever lived was a man named Mansa Musa from Mali, a black man. We are the builders of Timbuktu. We are the ones that established the city of Atlantis. Black people are the fathers and mothers of the Nile Valley civilization. We are the builders of the pyramids. Did you hear me? We have God's genetic makeup, holy heredity, divine DNA, and prosperity is in our plasma. We were once a proud and productive people. Didn't nobody have to come and have no community empowerment, because all of us were proud, powerful, and productive. And when we came together, the whole is equal to the sum of its parts. Our community became proud, powerful, and productive. Are y'all all right? However, something has happened between the time that the originator of the heavens and the earth formed us and what we've become as a product of American civilization. According to the Bible, when man first came into existence, we were given power. Wait a minute. Well, if empowerment means to put into a person power, ability, strength, and might, the originator of the heavens and earth said that when he formed us, that he gave us power. So we were originally empowered by God himself. Not only did he give us power, but he gave us dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and every creeping thing that crawls on the earth. Dominion means authority. Dominion means control of. Dominion means the ability to manage, maintain, and regulate and distribute the affairs of. Well, at some point, we used to have not just power over a little car we drove, but power over everything that exists in the universe. The originator said that after he created us, he made us in his image. And after his, do you know what it means to be in the image and likeness of God? If we're in the image and the likeness, an image is a physical reflection, while likeness is a spiritual reflection. If we are made in the image of God, however we looked, God looked. What? No, God is not some divine piece of wind moving through space and time. God's not some ghost moving around. God's not some spirit. God is and was and always shall be a human being. If he wasn't, how could we be one? If you're made in his image, then you look like God. You say, but I was always taught that God is a spirit. Yeah, but there's only one verse in the Bible that says God is a spirit. And that verse, when it says that God is a spirit and we should worship him in spirit and in truth. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Question is, well, what is the truth about a spirit? The truth about a spirit is that a spirit cannot exist except it has a body to manifest itself in. Is that right? But in the Bible it says that Adam heard God's footsteps in the garden. You can't hear something stepping unless physical is touching physical. Is that right? Another verse says that Adam and Eve hid their face from God. The only way you can hide from something is you have to be able to see what you're hiding from and know how to put something in the way of you and the person looking for you. Is that right? Yes, otherwise, you can't hide unless you can see what you're looking at and they can see you. Is this the truth? When it came to Abraham said that he seen 3 men walking through the plains of Mamre. And one of them was the Lord. And the other 2 were angels. Oh, that busts up some other stuff too. That messes up these little white girls with these chicken wings on their back. Angels aren't spirit or winged creatures. The word angel in Hebrew and in Arabic is malak. Malak means messenger of God. So an angel is a human being. How do you know? Because when the Quran talks about the raising of messengers, he said, if you were a spirit, I would have sent you a spirit. But when I raise a messenger, since you are men, I send you men or women as messengers. Well, if Malak means messenger and messengers are always human beings, angels are human beings too. Well, if Abraham seen 3 men and one of them was not a Lord, because a Lord would mean that it could have been anybody that calls themselves a king or ruler. But the means the definite article. The means the supreme. The means the top of the top, the most. If it's the Lord walking and this is a man walking, then God is the Lord and God must be a man. Then when he seen the Lord and the Lord came in, he told Sarah, go and prepare 3 fine meals for them. Well, wait a minute. Spirits don't need food. And then he told the Lord, sit down, Lord, and rest your feet. Now the Lord got feet. Now the Lord got some legs that he can bend. And the Lord can sit down. And whenever Sarah came out, she didn't know what to feed him, so she just played it safe. She didn't bring him no KYs. No, she did not. She didn't bring him no sweet potato, no greens, no ham hocks. She said, look, I don't know what the Lord will want, so the safest thing I do is here's some water and here's some bread. She played it safe. But the Lord ate the bread. The angels ate the bread and drank the water. They're physical human beings. Jesus is in the Bible having an argument with the Jews, and they told Jesus that you are the only one that bears witness of yourself. How can we believe you are the Son of God? And Jesus said, no. Is it not written in your law that the testimony of 2 men is accepted as truth? I am one that bears witness of myself, and my Father is the other. Well, wait a minute. If he's saying it's 2 men that are testifying, and that means it is the truth, Jesus says, I'm one of the men, and my Father is the other man. Well, if God is his Father, he's telling you God is a human being. Oh, okay, I still only got 50% agreement. Let me see what else I can find. If God's not a human being, why come we use the pronoun he and him? If he's a spirit, why not it? See, he is a pronoun. Pronouns take the place of a noun. And a noun describes either a person, a place, or a thing. When you describe a thing, you don't use he or she, you use it. So the only thing left that God could be, he's got to be either a person or a place. And we know God's not a place because he's the author of place. So all that's left is for God to be a person. Do you know if you look up the definition of spirit in the dictionary, it says that a spirit is that which can be felt but not seen? Yet in the Bible it says that in the last days every eye shall see him. Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. Well, if you're going to see God and you're going to hear God and you're going to testify to God, and spirits cannot be seen but only felt, that means God must be a spirit living inside of a human being. No, God is inside of you. Jesus said your body is the temple of God. Okay, I still don't believe me. Y'all all right? Yes, sir. Okay, if the temple of God is where God lives, right? Yes, sir. Let me ask you a question. What do they call this part of your body? The what? Is this called the temple? Yes, what are we saying? If God lives in the temple, we're saying the temple is the head. That's right. So the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of heaven. See, a dome is the round part that exists at the top of a structure. Are y'all with me? Yes, sir. The round part that exists at the top of our structure is called our head. So whoever is the king in our dome will determine whether or not we are in the kingdom of heaven or the kingdom of hell. I can put it out there and say, just to be safe, that the way that our communities are right now, God's not ruling in the head of the black man and woman. If it was, then there wouldn't be so much death among us. There wouldn't be so much homicide among us. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that heaven and hell are not places. They're states of mind. They're states of being. And they are conditions of life. And we've been knowing that even before we ever went to the land of make-believe. Now, I ain't talking about the little trolley on Mr. Rogers. I'm talking about the church that you was at. You've been knowing that. Can y'all shut that door for us so we can knock out some of the Christmas music next door? But, what was I saying?
Land of make-believe.
Land of make-believe. Well, we've been knowing that heaven and hell wasn't no place. Is this the truth? Yes, sir. Whenever your heat don't work in the wintertime, say, I'm cold as hell. You ain't died and went nowhere. Is that right? Summertime coming and you ain't got no air conditioning? Man, it's hot as hell in here. Is that right? You reach in your pocket and you can't find no money? Say, look, man, I'm broke as hell. Is that right? You see somebody all messed up, disfigured, looking all funny, say, man, look, he ugly as hell. Ain't dead nowhere, alive. And if you think you're going to fly and go away, guess what? You crazy as hell. No, heaven and hell are on the earth. Do you know that whenever a baby is born, the family's in an emotional heaven? But when someone you love dies, you're in an emotional hell? If you have a person that's paralyzed from the neck down, they're in a physical hell. But someone manifesting full athletic abilities in a physical heaven. Someone that cannot read or write is in a mental hell. Yes, they are. You cannot be, don't have the ability to read or write and be well. You're sick. That's why it's called illiterate. Because you're sick when you can't read and write. But if you've got knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, you're in a mental heaven. If you don't have enough money in your pocket to provide food, clothing, and shelter for your children, you're in a financial hell. But if anything that you see that you want, you got enough resources to buy it whenever you want it, you're in a financial heaven. Am I telling the truth? You didn't have to die and go nowhere. You either get it while you're alive or you don't get it at all. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that heaven and hell are states of mind, states of being that produce a condition of life that we're living in. No, you don't have to die and go nowhere to get it. You can get it right here while you're on earth. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
Depending on who's the king in your dome. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
After the Lord of the worlds gave us power and dominion, he justified why he gave it to us. He said, I have created you in my image and after my likeness. Do you know that if we're created in the image and likeness of God, everything that's true about God is also true about you? Do you know that if you're created in the image and likeness of God, when God looks at you, he sees himself? Our problem is when we look at ourselves, we don't see God. If we're created in the image and the likeness of God, you are not a duplicate of God. You are a replica of God. A duplicate can look like, but it doesn't have the power and the function of. But if we're in the image and that's physical and likeness is the spiritual, that means that we don't just look like God on the outside. Ain't that something that the proper name for God in the original language of the planet is Arabic, which was Allah? If you convert the word Allah into an acronym, you know what an acronym is, right? It's when every letter in a word represents another word. Like the CIA, it stands for the Cocaine Import Agency. FBI finding a black man to incarcerate. You got you a job. You just over broke. Is that the truth? Media, most effective devil in America. Pope, protector of pedophiles everywhere. Now, there's some positive ones too now. Focus is following one course until successful. Luck is laboring under correct knowledge. Islam is the ideal system of living for all of man. If you follow that ideal system of living for all of man perfectly, at the end of the spiritual process, you can say, I, self-Lord, am a master. That's an acronym. Allah, arm, leg, arm, head. Letting you know that God has always been a human being. He lives in you. He works in you. There is no mystery God. No, you can't ball up your prayers and throw it into outer space and wait on the Lord to come make everything all right. Prayer is the spiritual system that allows you to intervene in the affairs of life by the use of your voice. But prayer is really that which activates the supreme being and the God in you to work in concert with one another for you to answer your own prayers. Only person that clapped was my wife. Boy, it's bad. God. That's why in Islam, when we pray, we focus our eyes on the spot where our head is going to land.
Yes, sir.
Is that the truth?
Yes, sir.
Muslims?
Yes, sir.
Any Muslims that pray in here? And when we pray, the Holy Quran instructs us to say the prayer in a voice that's not loud, nor is it a whisper, but right in the middle. Question, why does God need you to talk out loud to him? He already knows. Matter of fact, why does God even need you to talk, period? In fact, the Lord of the worlds knew what you were thinking before you thought the thought, let alone spoke the word or did the action. Is that the truth? So if the Lord of the worlds gives us a system of prayer where we're saying it out loud and he doesn't need us to communicate at all to know what we are thinking and feeling and what we need in our heart, then he's not telling us to talk out loud to him. He's telling you to talk out loud to yourself. I don't want you looking up in outer space saying in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, the Lord of the worlds. I want you looking at where your forehead is going to land. And I want you to say it out loud because I'm trying to suggest to you that you are going to be the one that answers your own prayers. There is no solution coming from heaven in the sky. It's coming from your own brain. Are y'all still all right? I don't know how it is in Springfield, but in every city that we visited in, every time somebody died in the hood, they always have a prayer vigil. They do it here too? Everybody show up in RIP shirts. Bishop Hogmaw and Reverend Pork Chop and them, preachers come out and hold hands with everybody. And I said to myself, you know, all of my life, black people been dying in the hood. And every time somebody died, we've been having these prayer vigils. I said, well, if we having prayer vigils, but we keep dying, I got to go and check this thing out because something ain't right. Either A, the prayers aren't working, or B, they praying to the wrong God, or C, they saying the wrong thing when they ask, or hell, maybe it's D, all of the above. I don't know. So we got into the circle with the Reverend, and right next to it, and Reverend started off good in the beginning. He said, Lord, we ask of you this day to give the family of so-and-so a peace that surpasses all understanding, Lord. I was like, amen. And then Reverend starts slipping. And I learned when I was back in the church when I was a child that there was a way that you can keep your head bowed and you can squint your eyes, and to everybody else you look like your eyes are closed, but you can see what's going on. And Reverend, he starts saying this. He said, Lord, we demand of you this day some answers, Lord. Why do you allow so much death in our community, Lord? Why do you allow so much poverty in our community, Lord? We demand of you some answers this day. And I looked over at the preacher and I said, man, God could look at us and say, I was going to ask y'all the same question. Why do you allow so much death in your own community? If I created you in my image and my likeness, you are a replica of me. No, don't ask me, ask yourself. You got power and dominion over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and every creeping thing that crawls on the earth. Regulate the affairs of your own environment and establish peace in the hood. All praise is due to Allah. Y'all still all right?
Yes, sir.
So the 4 instructions that we were given to show us how to execute power and dominion, we're talking about community empowerment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Health, wealth, and our youth. The 4 instructions God gave us after giving us power and dominion, he gave us a distribution system on how we could use this power and dominion to keep ourselves empowered. Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
4 instructions. Be fruitful. Multiply. Replenish the earth. Anybody go to Sunday school? Number 4, subdue it. Y'all got that?
Yes, sir.
Now, fruitful and multiply sound like the same thing. One is spiritual, one is physical. Multiplication is the reproduction of children. We've been following that instruction very well. Huh?
That's right.
We will have no problem making babies.
That's right. No problem.
Our problem, though, is that we've been multiplying, bringing sons and daughters into the world before we follow the first instruction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You ever heard somebody say just like that and in that order? Well, if the Lord of the world said be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, and subdue it, he means it just like that. And he means it in that order. Before we bring children into the world, we have to be fruitful. Does this make sense? Before you can grow your seeds, you must know your roots. Before we should bring babies into the world, we should be fruitful mentally. Multiplication means when men and women come together and a child comes with the DNA of both of them with the goal of being better than both of them were.
Come on.
Being fruitful means that minds come together.
Come on.
And we discuss business. What, am I saying something wrong?
No, sir. No, sir.
I seen a saying the other day. They said that great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss things. And small minds discuss other people. If you go into the black man or the black woman's country clubs, a.k.a. barber and beauty shops, well, y'all know I'm telling the truth. I want you to go in there and just act like a white person for a little while. You know what that means, right? Be nosy as hell. No, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the white man is a universal snooper.
Indeed. Indeed.
They always ear hustling.
That's right.
You can't talk about nothing without them trying to figure it out. And then somebody said they're doing it right now. I know they are. We're going to mess your whole Christmas party up over there. That old cheese dip ain't even going to be good on the other side of that wall no more. Cracker. They ain't going to come over here and do nothing. You believe that? No, we religious people, we spiritual people, we will lay hands on you. In Jesus' name. And I promise you, you will be speaking in tongues. Shaman up off me. They ain't going to do nothing. But if you go inside of any beauty and barbershop, I want you just to listen to the nature of our conversations. Great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss things, and small minds discuss other people. When you go and listen to the theme of the general conversation of black people, we're not discussing ideas. We're not even discussing production of things. We're generally talking about other people. Is that right? Steph, LeBron, or some form of gossip. But being fruitful means that we bring our minds together like a male and female bring their bodies together. Male and female bodies produce children. When minds come together, we bring birth to ideas, visions, dreams, hopes, aspiration, businesses. Does this make sense? Do you know one of the big impediments in I'm saying this, I don't know how it is in Springfield because we didn't get to drive around that much. But in every community in America that we visited this year, and we've been to about 50 cities, do you know when we go to Asian, Jewish, or white neighborhoods, their communities are thriving? A thriving community has 4 churches and 50 businesses.
Come on.
But when you come to the black community, our community is not thriving. We got 50 churches and 4 businesses. And 3 of them owned by somebody else. Is this the truth? Every time in the hood that a theater or a grocery store or a school or a mall shuts down, a church is put in the place of it. Is this the truth? But last I checked, we've been in hell the whole time in the black community with a church on every corner. It sounds like and it looks like that we're hustling backwards. Maybe we need to close some of the churches down and turn them back into grocery stores, back into theaters that put plays on the stage that are about raising the consciousness of our people. Do you know how powerful the voice of a black woman is that sings? Do you know how brilliant the black man and woman's mind is when it comes to wordplay in hip-hop music? Do you know how great of an actor and an actress black people are? Do you know how fast we can make a change in our community? If we just start making songs and movies and plays about the freedom and liberation and the positive image of black people. Have you ever heard of a man named Mao Zedong?
Yes, sir.
Do you know in China, when he took power in China, China had opium dealers and opium users. Either you sold dope or you used dope. If it sounds anything like the black community, it's not a coincidence. Mao Zedong, when he took over, look what his rule was. He said, from this day forward, there will be no more derogatory music on any radio. There will never be allowed to be shown on the screen any show or movie that is negative about Chinese people. From this day forward, every play, every television show, every song and every movie must have some ingredients that boost Chinese pride. Do you know that after him taking the cultural community and making them focus on upliftment of China in 1 year, there was no opium dealers or opium users no more in the whole country? And I promise you, Chinese people can't sing better than us. If they can, name one artist. Huh? The only person you know is Jackie Chan. And you barely understand what the hell he's saying when he's on the screen. But I'm saying that to say that if we were to take the churches and convert them back into theaters and have a cultural revolution. Take the churches that bought the school and turn it back into a school that has a real black curriculum. Y'all with me? Do you know there's only 6 black-owned grocery stores in the whole United States of America? With 46 million black people eating every day? We will never be free and independent as long as our oppressors feed us, educate us, and we work for them, and then all the money we get from working for them, we go and spend it back with white people. We blame the white man for 95% of our problems, but spend 97% of our money with them. We were on the radio yesterday in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I put it out there. I said the code of black economics in our community should be shop with your brother before you shop with another. That ain't far-fetched. You know what that means, right? That means any good product or service that you need or that you want, study whether there's a black person in the city you live in that sells it. Be willing to drive a little bit farther and pay a little bit more to support your sister and your brother. And if you can't find it in the city you live in, go online and find a black business that can supply the need. Do you know when I put that out there on the radio, do you know what the host said? Well, I mean, I understand that, but that seems to be very, very, very far-fetched. And just realistically speaking, how are we ever going to be able to buy just from the African-American marketplace? I said, well, ask the Jews how they doing it. Ask the Hispanics how they're doing it. Ask the white man how he's doing it. Do you know that a dollar circulates in the Asian community 28 to 30 days before it ever leaves to another people? Jews keep their dollar for 17 days, and the Hispanic community keeps theirs for 14 days. But in the black community, our dollar only circulates in our community 3 to 6 hours. I don't even think you can call that circulate. It takes more than 3 hours to make a circle. Because hell, last I checked, if you got a direct deposit on Friday morning, 3 to 6 hours later, you still at work. So your money already back with the white man before you even clocked out. That's bad math. I said, so don't tell me that you and I are the fathers and mothers of all civilization. Don't you know that every people came from black people? If there were no black man, there couldn't be a red man, a brown man, a yellow man, or a white man. All of them came from you and me. So don't tell me that our children, who only been on the planet for 6,000 years, can have that kind of loyalty where they can shop with their brother before they shop with another, and you and I have been on the planet for over 78 trillion years and we can't do it too? No, we can. Hell, we must. And hopefully we will. Are y'all all right? Be fruitful and then do what? So first order of business is we have to start networking with one another. That's what fruitful means. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that networking is defined in these terms. 6 or 8 of you with like minds, pool your resources and necessary qualifications together for independence. Do you know that for every vision you have in your mind, there is hundreds of black people that have the same goal in their head too? All you got to do is find 6 or 8 of them that want to open a grocery store like you want to. 6 or 8 that want to open a dry cleaners like you want to. 6 or 8 that want to start urban gardening like you want to. And once you find them 6 or 8, you have to get together and be fruitful. Start networking. Start bouncing ideas off of one another. You marry your mind with their mind with their mind, and bring birth to institution. Does this make sense? Then when we have something, then we can be fruitful. We can bring our children into the world. Right now, we're bringing our children into a world of nothingness. We don't have nothing to pass on to them. Your baby can't inherit no job. Am I saying something wrong? So we talking about first community. We talking about wealth, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you know that when we came up out of slavery, that black people had almost, I'm gonna get the exact math for you. Y'all right?
Yes, sir.
Let's see if I can find this out real quick. When we came out of slavery in 1867, just 2 years up from slavery, black people owned 20 million acres of land. 2018, we own under 300,000 acres. Y'all not hearing me. Do you know for the last 4 years, black people have brought $1.1 to $1.3 trillion out of this economy? We got money, but we don't have no wealth. Income and wealth are two different things. Income is the money that you acquire by the exchange of your time in the workplace. But wealth is what you get by exchanging that money for something that either keeps its value or increases in value over time. Nothing increases in value or maintains its value in this world except for a business and land. That's why it's called real estate. Have you noticed ain't nothing else called real but it? Because once you got some of it, there ain't no more coming. It ain't but 57,255,000 square miles of land. Once you get a piece, that is something that's real. Ain't no new earth coming up from nowhere. Did you hear me? So if we don't have land and we don't have business, we don't have wealth. So the formula for wealth building is we got to starting businesses. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes, sir.
On the radio yesterday, we were dealing with what was a show called Financial Fitness. And I'm so happy we got our brother DJ Swig here in the house. Let's give our brother a round of applause from the DJ Swig show. We got our brother, Mr. 937, with Sister Ebony in the building. She didn't make it. All right, she had to go get the babies. She had to go get the babies. But we just left their show right before we came here. But yesterday in Minneapolis, we were on a show, and the sister asked a question. She said that if we got all this money, what's wrong with us? I said it shows that we have dollars, but we don't have cents. Not C-E-N-T-S, but S-E-N-S-E. We don't have the sense to know how to use the dollars wisely. Right now, black people's brain is hardwired from happiness to spending. And we have to take the wire out of happiness, leave it in happiness, but unplug it from spending and plug it into saving and investing. And after I said investing, a brother called in. He said, yeah, I agree with that. That's why I ain't buying Nikes, I'm buying Nike stock. I ain't giving no gifts, I'm giving my baby some stock. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught on investment too. But his definition of investment was not invested in the NASDAQ or the Dow Jones. His definition of investment was invested in yourself. Start your own business instead of buying into some white corporate. Y'all understand what I'm trying to say? Are y'all still all right?
Yes, sir.
Right now, and let's just be clear, white people do not have more wealth or money than you because they've worked harder than us or because they're smarter than we are. How do you outwork a slave? How do you outthink a pyramid builder? So we have the smarts and we have the work. No, the reason that they have what they have is because America set up like a real-life monopoly board. The difference is that we as black people did not get to start the game with any inheritance. I got somebody that likes Monopoly. You know how it is when you play Monopoly. They give you 2 500s, right? 2 100s, 4 50s, 6 20s, and then you get 5 10s, 5s, and 1s, right? And then as you roll the dice, you have 1 or 2 options. Either you can rent or buy. Is this the truth? And every time you land on something, if don't nobody else own it, you can buy it and you can get it. When they land on it, they got to pay you rent, or vice versa. However, what would happen to you on the Monopoly board if you started the game and everybody else had money and you had nothing? See, black people, we have never received our 40 acres and a mule. We have not received not 1 dime of reparations. We started this thing on a real-life monopoly board in America without any resources. And if we move around the board, if we operate on the board, all we can do is buy a rent, but we don't have nothing to buy a rent with. So what happens whenever you can't play on the board, you start playing off the board. Off the board is hustling. Off the board is stealing. Off the board is gambling. You understand what I'm saying? Off the board is welfare. And when you start playing off the board, hustling and stealing and gambling, you end up going to jail. Going directly to jail. You don't get to pass go. And you don't get to collect your $200. Tell me that ain't what been happening to black people in real time. Do you know that if you go to a banking institution in America, they'll give you a $250,000 loan for a plastic house. They'll give you a $100,000 loan for an Escalade. They'll give you a $200,000 loan to get miseducated in some of these colleges and universities. What, am I saying something wrong? No, sir. These degrees are frauds. Are y'all hearing me? Yes, sir. Technically, if you get a degree, it should follow the same logic as any other thing they sell you. Somebody had a product online and on TV, and you bought the blender, and you brought the blender home, and after you watched it, it said it could do all this stuff, and you got it home and it couldn't do none of that stuff. You have a right to get a refund. Is that right? Well, hell, if you got a degree from a university, everybody I know with a degree, none of them work in the field they have a degree in. And half the people that have the degree, if you ask them, did you need the degree to do what you do, they'll tell you no. So if I bought this degree from the university for $200,000 and I brought the product called a degree home and it did not work, it did not do what it was supposed to do, I should be able to tell Freddie Mac and Sally Mae and them, I want a full refund. No, hell, I don't want no in-school credit. I want all my money back. What y'all think? Make sense? They'll give you a $200,000 loan for a degree. They'll give you a $100,000 loan for an Escalade, a $250,000 loan for a plastic house, but go to that same lending institution and ask them for $25,000 for a small business. How was I qualified for a $250,000 for 30 years for a house, and you won't even give me $25,000 to start my own business? It's because they know that when you buy an automobile or you buy something that they give you a loan for, then they have their strings attached to it and they own it. But if you start a business, you're graduating out of income into wealth. And now you become a threat to the power structure of white supremacy. Are y'all still all right? Health. Do you know the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan opens up every letter to us in the same words? It says, may this correspondence find you in the best of health and spirit. For him to open up every letter, it must be something very powerful about these two principles. Health and what else? What he's telling us is that if you find any human being that has health and spirit both coexisting and cooperating in one organism, you are looking at an unstoppable man and an unstoppable woman. If your health is good and your spirit is right, there's nothing you can't accomplish. Are y'all right? Yes, health is not fitness. Fitness is not health. What, y'all don't understand? Fitness is the manifestation of athletic ability. Fitness is attached to a person's speed, strength, and endurance. But health is when all the internal systems of your body are working in an optimal level. Are y'all all right? Yes, sir. Didn't the Bible say something like this in 3 John? Above all things, brethren, I wish that you should prosper. Prosper means I want you to be rich. Well, am I saying something wrong? Anybody that don't want to be rich, don't worry about it. When you get yours, just give it to me. No, you don't want no little nasty, little dirty, little money. Give it all up. Above all things, brethren, I wish that you would what? Prosper and be in good health. So the Lord of the worlds wants everybody to be rich and healthy. Then it says this, even as thy soul prospereth. So the 3 categories of greatness that God wants for us, He wants you to be rich, have health, and He wants you to be spiritually sound where your soul is intact. And the soul must be number 1 because it says even as thy soul prospereth. Even means on the same level as. So y'all understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. Yeah, the soul is more important than the money and the health, because what would it profit a man if he gained the whole world and lost his? So that means that out of carrying all the whole world compared to soul, one soul, yeah, you understand, it's more valuable than all the wealth of the planet. Yes, sir. The soul is the essence of God inside of you. Y'all still all right? Yes, sir. Didn't Jesus say that I come that you may have life and have life more? The litmus test to prove who's really following Jesus is who has life and life more abundantly. You all right? Yes, sir. So if I'm a follower of Jesus, I should have a better quantity of life and a higher quality of life than everybody else. Right. Otherwise, I can't say I'm really with the Jesus. Right. Are you all right? Yes, now, for the record, abundant life ain't 65. What? The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said it takes 75 years just to learn how to live. Isaiah said that people will be 100 years of age and will still be babies. Do you know the average life expectancy of man from Adam to Noah is 912 years? It wasn't until man started eating meat. What? Yeah. As soon as they start getting them big stupids and start going to the Murder King and Taco Hell and McDevils and Long John Killers and Kentucky Fried Chicken. No, they didn't go. Now keep in mind, the word restaurant is nowhere in the scripture. Did y'all hear me? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the long livers used to eat one meal in a day, fast 3 days, and then eat one more meal. They ate twice a week. And because they ate twice a week, they could live like Methuselah, 969 years of age. But when man started eating meat, it went down between Noah and Jesus down into the 200s. Now from Jesus to now we're down to about the average of 75. Are y'all all right? That ain't even 1/10 of what the human body was made. The human body was built to last 1,000 years. Y'all all right? So health is something that we got to take care of. If we don't start looking out for our health, we won't be worth nothing for nobody else. See, if we die right whenever we are learning how to live, then we never get a chance to use the wisdom of our life experience. Does that make sense? Now, in the Nation of Islam, we don't ever say Happy New Year. Because we don't know whether the new year is going to be happy or not. We just say, may God's peace be with you in the new year. Is that right? Did you know that that New Year used to be May 25th? You didn't hear me. The start of the calendar used to be May 25th. Then it went to September, then November, then December. Now it's become January 1st. Did you know that there's only 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 46 seconds in a day? But every day we say it's 24 hours? If every day we say it's 24, but it's really 23, 56, and 46, that means that we're 3 minutes and 14 seconds into tomorrow. Still calling it today. What day really is it?
Come on.
Huh? Are you really a Scorpio? Are you really a Gemini? Hell, they shouldn't even be called horoscopes. They should be called horror scopes. They got us spooked the hell all the way out. No, your life ain't dictated by the movement of the stars. The stars are dictated, they're moving by your movement as a human being. You understand what I'm saying? If the horoscopes were legit, then everybody should be able to use them. Would you agree? It should be an equal opportunity employer. So every time you open up the newspaper, no matter where you are in the world, if it says Scorpio, even though you're in prison, Scorpio, you will find love waiting on you around the corner. Are you supposed to cash in on that? No, brothers and sisters, you got to do what you got to do to make it happen. Are y'all still all right? Our health is so important to us. Listen to this verse real quick. In the book of Matthew 26:41, this is Jesus talking. That is red writing. Listen to these words. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. In other words, there's ideas in our head. There's things that we like to have and things that we like to see accomplished. There's hopes, there's aspirations that we have rotating in our mind on a spiritual level. And the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. What that's telling us is that we have to get our constitution, our bodies in the type of health and fitness that we actually can be a vehicle to manifest what the Spirit wants to manifest. The Spirit, the mind, the body, they're not independent of one another. They're interdependent. Interdependent means that they need each other to manifest themselves. When you go to a funeral and you view someone that is dead, they say, we are here at the wake viewing the remains of. The definition of remains is that which is left over, meaning something is missing. Well, when the person is dead, we say they're the remains because the body is there, but the soul is gone. Is that right? So without the soul being present, the body is dead. See, the spirit needs the body to manifest itself in, and the body needs the spirit to call itself a living organism. They're not independent, they're interdependent on one another. So you got to look out for the soul, the mind, and you also got to look out for the body. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
Last but not least, we talked about a little wealth. We talked about a little health, didn't we? Yes, sir. But what about our young people? And I say to all the young soldiers in the audience, don't wait till you get too old to do wrong to start doing right. Did you hear me? When my son was coming up and he was getting into the teenage years, you know how it is.
Yes, sir.
Well, y'all don't know how it is. I can't prove it, but my non-scientific observation says that whenever a child gets into the teenage years, there's an automatic erection of a mental firewall in their head, where they start blocking everything mama and daddy is saying right now and ever has said in the past. I can't prove it scientifically, but y'all understand what I'm saying. Those of you that have children, y'all understand what I'm saying. And they don't listen like they used to listen. And they don't even want to listen to what they used to believe it. You understand what I'm saying? So I told my son, I said, look, I said, son, either you can play now and pay later, or you can pay now and play later. And I can tell by the way he was looking at me that he didn't understand what now and later represented. I said, let me explain to you what now is. Now is 5 years, and later is 50. So now let's put the math on the statement.
Come on.
Play for 5, and you're going to pay for it for 50. Or go ahead and pay. What is pay? Be disciplined. Be honorable. Be noble. Be hardworking. Go to school if your purpose requires you getting an education, and get you a skill that is a nation-building skill. Pay now. And if you pay for 5, you'll be able to play for 50 years of your life. I'm saying that to the young brothers and sisters. Don't wait till you get too old to do wrong, to start doing right. There's a white man by the name of Malcolm Gladwell who wrote a book called The Outliers. This man went and interviewed people all over the world that had become the greatest in their fields. Y'all hearing me?
Yes, sir.
And they found that there was a magic number of time that must be invested in any skill or craft to go from good to great, skilled to being a master. And they came up with a number that they call the magic number that turns one from a skilled person to a master, a good one to a great one. It's called 10,000 hour rule. If you invest 10,000 hours into any craft, you will become proficient. Well, wait a minute. If you're young and you start investing when you're 10, y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Come on.
Do you know that 10,000 hours can be broken up? If you broke it into 4 hours a day, you would get there in 6.5 years. If you went 2 hours a day, in 13 years, you will be a master. Even if you just put 1 hour a day in 27 years, you'd make the goal. What, you say 27 years, 1 hour a day? Everybody can put 1 hour a day into a craft. Question is, when you going to get started? See, if you start the process of accomplishing these 10,000 hours when you're 40, and you only put in 1 hour a day, hell, you're going to be 67. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, but if you started when you're 3, and you say, you know what, I ain't got no bills to pay, I don't have to pay, I don't have no car note, I ain't got to take care of no children. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and put 4 hours in. By the time you're 10, you'll go from good to great, skill to a master. Y'all understand what I'm trying to say? So as a young brother and sister, your mindset should be, let me go ahead and get started as early as possible living a disciplined, righteous life. Because if I activate my discipline, my focus, fight, drive, and my purpose now, and I start working on becoming a master in my 10,000 hours, and I put the time in, and I pray and plan more than I play. Yes, sir. That's right. Does this make sense? Yes, sir. Then by the time I get finished, I'll be 22 years old, 23 years old, already a master. There's no such thing as a master of anything that's broke. Did you hear me? There's no such thing as a person that's great at anything that's in poverty. If you become great and you become a master, I don't care what your purpose is, you're going to have some chips in your pocket. So it's up to you to get started as soon as you can. Are y'all still all right? I pray to Allah that this has inspired us to become fruitful, multiply, and what? Replenish. You know what replenish means? Replace with something better. It is the job of every generation to bring birth to a new generation that is superior to the one that currently inhabits the planet. A real mother and father doesn't want their child to be like them. A real mother and father wants their child to be better than them. Am I telling the truth? The word father and father come from the same etymological root. A father's job is to make sure the sons and the daughters go farther than they ever went. That's our job. Let me tell you something. If we start networking, pooling our resources, 6 or 8 of us bouncing ideas off of one another, you understand what I'm saying? Being fruitful. Then bring children into the world, not children into the world to be like us, but children in the world to be better than us. Then we will be able to say, not that I subdued Springfield, Ohio. Not that I subdued the state of Ohio. But I have now subdued the entire planet. And we'll be able to bring the whole earth back in divine order, and you and I will become the perfect people and the perfect rulers of a new world order. Thank you for listening as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.